So, okay. So today we'll understand how a group discussion happens, and then how do you work for a personal interview. Okay, we'll start with our group discussion. So first of all, what is a group discussion or a GD? So why is it conducted? So we'll go one by one. What? Why is it conducted? And then how do you actually participate in a GD and how do you take it forward? Okay, that we will see. First of all, what is a group discussion? A group discussion is an activity conducted by the interviewers with a group of 8 to 12 students for each discussion. Okay, so in each group, as I said, there will be 8 to 12 people, and then approximately 20 to 30 minutes of time will be allocated to the group, and they will be given a topic. Okay, now a group discussion is conducted in two ways. One is giving a topic and asking the group to discuss the pros and cons of that particular topic given, and then come to a conclusion. This is the thing. Okay. The other way of conducting it is giving a situation, creating a situation, and then again the same thing, discuss pros and cons and arrive at a conclusion on how to solve a situation, or how your group thinks this situation can be solved. It is not about whether you are thinking that way or not. It is about a group's conclusion, not an individual conclusion there. Okay. So this is an overview of what is a group discussion. Now, why is that group discussion conducted? Now, when you see in when you enter into a company, usually what happens is they do a lot of different projects, right? So when they are doing these projects, they get the requirements from the customers. Now, when I get the requirement from the customer, I need to understand thoroughly what could be all the different angles for that particular requirement. The customer could simply say, I want a ladder. But when the customer says, I want a ladder, you need to understand what different kinds of ladders are there and how do you achieve that, completing of that ladder, how do you start it, what is required. All these things should be analyzed. Once these are analyzed, a group of team, whichever is going to develop it or whichever is going to build it, they sit together and they brainstorm. And then when they brainstorm, each of them comes out with a point, either saying that this technology or metal is good, or that way of doing it is good. Okay, when they discuss all these things here, after you enter into a company and into a job and then do a group discussion, there is always a moderator. The leader of the group will moderate the rest of them. So he will collect all the points from different sources in the team, and then he will come up with assumptions and all different points that need to be given back to the customer for more details or for further information on that. So unless you are a good team player in a team, and unless you have complete knowledge about what you are doing or what you are discussing, you cannot actually participate. So they get time to know the requirement and then they start participating and discussing. Now here in the interview process, they want to observe, the interviewer wants to observe whether you are a good team player or not, whether you are committed with your information and whether you are committed to take it to a solution and come towards a conclusion or not, and whether you are able to lead others where they are, if they are not able to discuss properly, whether you are able to lead them properly and show good leadership qualities. All these things they want to observe, and of course the basic things will be your attitude and the communication skills. Okay, so these are the basic things that they want to observe in a team. Individually, you may be very good, you may be speaking very good, you may be understanding things very well, you may be telling the facts very well. But when it is in a group, how do you act? And that too, when the group is completely new, right? When a group discussion happens, the students who are the candidates who are sitting with you in the group may not be your friends. So when they are not your friends, but still they are a team. Now when you are all formed as a team with unknown candidates, how do you act? How do you participate? How do you mingle with them and then make sure that the discussion happens and everything? So to understand these things, a group discussion is conducted. Okay, now let us get into the how part. How do you participate in a group discussion? Now I will start with a prerequisite. A prerequisite, what is a prerequisite? What do you need to know before you enter into a group discussion? That is a prerequisite. Now for a group discussion, the first, the foremost prerequisite is knowledge on the area. Your knowledge. So how do you gain knowledge? Usually when a group discussion is conducted, the topic or the situation given will be mostly with the current happenings or current affairs. So what is happening in technology, or what is happening in politics, or what is happening in geography. It could be anything, or in games. All these things can play a role. But whatever they give as a topic for discussion, you need to know few facts so that you can participate in the group discussion. Okay. Now again, I'll go back here. I said topic and a situation, right? Now what is the difference? What is a topic and what is a situation? Now a topic could be simple thing like science. Is it a boon or bane? So this could be a simple question that could be asked in a topic, right? Then the team should they'll be probably given some 5 minutes or so to prepare on that, and then they'll start their group discussion. Now once the discussion is started, the point is science, is it a boon or a bane? Now if everyone stands on this line saying that yes, it is both boon and both bane, now where is the point of discussion there? Everyone is saying their opinion. In my opinion, this is what it is. In my opinion, science is a boon because it has given us a lot of knowledge and things that we can do, and it has improved our life. Science is a bane because it has created a lot of mess, and a lot of jobs went off because of advancements in science. A lot of people lost their jobs, or a lot of countries have lost their visibility in the world. So if you start saying both it is a boon and a bane, there is no discussion happening there. Now what happens if there are 8 people, each one of them will say point 1, point 2, point 3, so 8 points came. Now none of the points is discussed because everyone is just saying that it is both boon and a bane. Now if you have to discuss, which means there should be discussion between people who are supporting it and people who are against it. So only then a discussion will happen about one particular point. If I say science is a boon because it has given us lot of advancements. The whole world has become very close now, or it has become a single point of contact. With the advancement of phones, let us say, I am able to connect to anyone in the world, right? So just like that, it's not like if you write a letter, it will reach after some time. But through a phone, within a second, I can dial the number and talk to the other person. Now, if I say that, then the other person might comment back and say, no, it is not like that because this is what I feel, right? So there can be a discussion based on the points that can be discussed either on this side or on this side. If everyone stands on the same line saying that it is both boon and a bane, there is no point of discussion. When there is no discussion, there cannot be a conclusion. What can you conclude if nobody has discussed anything? After the 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you will come and simply say it is both boon and a bane. Now that is not what it is, right? What your group thinks is very important. Now in the group, you are also a member. Now you are there to get a job. Now if you want to get a job, you should be in such a way that you can participate. Now if everyone is standing on this line and nobody is discussing, there is no participation happening. In that case, this conclusion doesn't happen, and the group, whatever they have discussed, it is of no use. There is no validity for that discussion that happened. So when a topic is given and whether to discuss for and against it, if everyone is going towards or for the topic, then think of at least few points which you can use to stand on the other side. Okay, so that at least you can create the discussion. You can say that yes, what you said is right with respect to the boon part, but don't you think that there is a negative part also with that?
Drawbacks.
Yeah, drawbacks for what you are saying. So once you say that, the discussion will start. Right? Now when the discussion starts, you can clearly give your facts, you can clearly, the other person can give their facts, opinions, and then come out with a conclusion, saying that yes, probably what you are saying is true, or probably what I am saying is true. So they can come to a conclusion saying that yes, this is what it is. Right? Now in the same way, second one is a situation. So what is a situation? Situation is they create a environment where something is happening, and you have to understand the situation, and then how do you solve it should be discussed. Okay, now let us say they give a situation saying that you are here, you means the group, okay, you are here and you are seeing 3 different incidents happening in 3 different locations very near to you. One place there is a robbery going on, other place there is a fire accident, and the other place there is some let us say a flood. 3 different situations, right? And to these 3 different situations, they will say the robbery is happening and there are only old people there. There are no younger ones who can support them or who can help them. Right? A fire is happening where there are probably only students or kids. Let's say, let's give it more sentiment saying kids. So kids are stuck in a fire accident. Okay, there is a flood. And probably here it is a small village where you have to go and rescue. Now, if you are a group of people standing there in this situation, now whom do you want to go and rescue first, and how do you want to make sure that all the 3 things are taken care of? So, which one do you attack first? How do you start? So, you want to go from 1, 2, 3, or you want to go the other way, or you want to go this way? So this is the discussion that need to be happened, and you have to solve the situation. How do you solve all the 3? You can simply say we'll split and go, right? But they might put some restriction saying that you have to, if you start from here, you have to pass this way. You start from here, you have to pass this way. There is no way that you are coming back. Okay, so the road is only one way. You cannot go all the 3 ways at the same time. So there could be some drawback or limitation that they will add to this situation. Now the kind of situation once this is given, naturally people will split up, because there are old people, there are kids, and there is a flood. So people, your emotions come into play, right? So if you are very emotional towards old, you want to join the group who say we'll start with the old people. If you are emotional towards kids, you will say let us start with kids and then come this side or that side. So the moment there is a situation where different things are discussed, naturally emotions come into picture and people will split and a discussion will surely happen. So in this situation, the advantage is distribution already happened. People, the candidates who are participating, they already got distributed into 3 different ideas, and then they start discussion. Only thing, if this kind of situation is given and the discussion starts, the only thing that you need to clearly remember is you should not get into an argument, because naturally when there are emotions, people will start or tend to argue. Now those kind of arguments are what you have to avoid and try to discuss it with a proper sanity. Right? Now, this is a situation where it is tough because people will try to jump onto the side where they know more about it. I can talk more about this because I have seen some facts. I may not be able to talk about this because I don't know much about why it is a native or why it is a babe. Right? So in this situation, you have to choose the right side based on the points that you have. But as I said, if everyone is trying to talk about science as a boon, then probably you stand on the other side and create a chance for discussion. Okay? Now, let us come back. So, as I said, the prerequisite is knowledge. Now, when there is a situation given, naturally in the situation, the kind of situation I told is a generic lifetime scenario. But a situation could be anything about a political situation or geographical fight, or it could be even about the technologies that are happening. Right? So which technology is good for such kind of small development or a product or something. So they can give you different things on that. Now when there is a situation, as I said, the knowledge on that particular area can be acquired from the situation that is given. Right? Because emotions come into play. But when there is a topic given, surely you need to have knowledge from your prior experience. Experience not just participating in group discussions or anything, but experience gained or knowledge gained out of your study or understanding. Okay, so knowledge is the prerequisite. So which means you are ready for the show. Once you get the knowledge, you are ready for the show. Now the second important thing is communication. So what is communication? Speaking good English, using the right vocabulary, and trying to express your words in the best way is not just communication. Okay, those three are required only with respect to what you are going to say. But when you say it out, when you tell something out, if the other person is unable to understand it properly, you are not a good communicator. Understood? So, as simple as if I say you have to come to the office every day. Now, if you understood it that okay, I need to come irrespective of when I come, then I did not communicate to you properly. You might come 12 o'clock tomorrow, 10 o'clock day after tomorrow, 3 o'clock the other day, and you will say, sir, you said you have to come to the office every day. I am coming every day. You did not mention that I have to come at 9 and go at 6. Right? So, if I have not communicated to you properly, the outcome is because I did not communicate. It is not that the other person did not understand properly. He understood it properly from his way. Am I making sense? Now, when you are communicating, you have to make sure that your communication is thorough. And whatever you are saying has complete information so that the other person also understands it the same way that you want to say. Now, when I say you have to come to the office every day, I mean you have to come at 9 o'clock and then go at 6 o'clock, something like that. So when I say that, probably if I said you have to come to the office at 9 o'clock every day, then it makes sense. If you come later than 9 o'clock, I can question you. So that is what is communication. Irrespective of whether you are using the right vocabulary or not. If you are not very good at English, maybe you will not be able to use right vocabulary. But still, whatever English, whatever words you are using, it should communicate or it should convey the message to the other person the way you want to convey, not the way they want to receive it. Okay? So in communication, the important thing is that receiver is important. Whoever is receiving is important. If the receiver doesn't understand, that means your communication is not up to the mark. Okay? Now these are the prerequisites. Now before entering into the discussion, how it happens and what are the things that happen in a group discussion, I'll ask you a few questions. Right? One is hearing and the other one is listening. What is the difference between hearing and listening?
Hearing means just we are hearing that. Listening means we will keep in mind and we will reback it.
Right. So hearing is something you do on a regular basis. So you hear a lot of noises, you hear a lot of people or what you call information going on here and there. So that is all hearing.
In marketplace we will hear.
Right. So listening is something you are paying attention to. So when you listen, it will stay in your mind and probably you can reproduce that back. So that is what is listening. The same way, talk, speak. When you are talking, it's just talking. You are talking to a couple of people or a group of people. Then it is talking. And when you are talking, every time it doesn't need to make any sense. For example, a cricket match happened, and one of our very good batsmen failed. Right? You, in a group of your friends, you'll come and start saying, no, he should have played the ball that way. He should have hit it this way. It doesn't make any sense. It is only your own perception or opinion. But the player who has actually did it, he knows what happened exactly, right? How he played and why he played, he only knows it. Nobody can explain that, right? So talking is, it doesn't need to make any sense. At times it makes sense, but every time it doesn't need to make any sense. And it is between a group of people. Speaking means you are speaking with facts. Right? So when you are speaking, you are expecting that or you are assuming that the other person is listening and absorbing what you are saying there. So that is what is a speaking. So that's why usually when lectures happen, they introduce the person as this is so and so, our speaker today is so and so. Right? Speaking usually is correlated with lectures that happen, one-way lectures that happen. But no, the speaking doesn't mean only one-way communication. Even in a discussion, people can speak their views, people can say their ideas, express their opinions, all these things will happen. But whatever they are saying there, they make sense. They know something about it or they have facts about it, only then they can speak. If they don't know anything, whatever they are doing comes under talking. Okay? Now, hearing, talking. See, watch. Right? Either you are just seeing it,
Yes.
when you are watching it, you are observing it.
Glancing.
Yeah. So seeing and watching, hearing and listening, talking and speaking, reading and studying. You just read newspapers. You just read and leave it. Some of the information you know or you remember. But most of it you don't. When you study, you are studying it so that you are paying attention and studying it so that you can reproduce it. Right? Now out of all these things, the most important thing, what is the most important thing out of all these things?
Speaking.
Listening is the most important thing. A good listener can be a good speaker. He can, he gets, how does he listen? By watching and, watching means paying attention, right? And then studying. So, a person who is a good listener can speak well, right? Now, when they want to speak, they need to have something that they have in facts behind them, which means they have studied well about it. Now, when I said knowledge, study. So you have to study things around you, what are happening, so that you can participate in the group discussion and be attentive, listen to others, and then speak what you what you know about it. Okay? So don't bluff. That's what the basic idea is about. Right. Okay. So the next thing is how it happens. Now when a group discussion happens, the group is divided and then a time is given, a topic or a situation is given, and then they are given some time to prepare their points, to list down some points that they want to put in the group and then discuss, right? So the preparation time preparation time that is given, you have to utilize it appropriately. Now, what do you need to prepare when during that preparation time? What you need to prepare is, you need to prepare the points or very important points that have facts, opinions. These are the two things that play a role in any discussion, right? What are facts? Information from information that you have gathered with complete knowledge and with some what you call proofs that you can show with that, right? Maybe you can say that from so and so magazine or from so and so journal or document, this is what has been written in that about this particular topic, right? So facts have proofs. Opinion is made out of few statements that are rolling around. So it is an opinion. You don't know whether it is true or not, but you think that it might be true because 10 different people, you heard from 10 different people about this particular point towards that. Okay, so that is an opinion. So during your preparation time, you need to prepare a list of facts that you have and list of opinions. Okay, not only this, you have to make sure that you are listing them out towards and against. What are the things that you know towards supporting the topic? What are the points that you have which are talking against the point or against the topic given? Right? Now, if you can list out these things, depending on the size of the people who are standing towards it, you can choose to stand against it. Right? If the number of people are more against the topic, probably you can choose to stand towards it. But it all depends on how many facts and opinions you have gathered out of your mind for these two areas, either towards or against. Okay. Now, depending on this, you will participate. Now, once the preparation time is over, whatever 5 minutes or 10 minutes they have given, the preparation time is over, the discussion will start. Now, when the discussion starts, what first happens is initiation. What is initiation? Starting the topic. Now, the first thing, okay, do's and don'ts, I will clearly discuss once our main flow is completed. So, what is an initiation? One of the persons in the group, candidates in the group, will stand, or if it is if you need to stand and speak, you will stand and speak. Otherwise, you will sit and start the discussion. So, when you start the discussion, you will start what you need to say and then initiate. When you are initiating, try to say, the important thing that you need to remember is start with some facts. So give a point for discussion to the group with a fact that you have noted. Right? If you start with an opinion, the biggest drawback is if your opinion is not true. If your opinion is not true, then, or whatever you said, you might, if you say, let us, all these things, let us, take around this point, science is a boon or bane. Okay? So, if you are thinking of that area, then let us say you started with a boon, saying that in my opinion, science is a boon to the humanity because it created a lot of advancements. Like nuclear energy is one thing that it has created, and we are enjoying those fruits of that science that was invented at that time, right? Now, let us say you said that you didn't have a fact or you didn't have anything to say yes, it is right. So you expressed it as an opinion. Now, in the discussion, if a lot of people come against it and say no, it is a bane because nuclear energy is not used to develop our countries, but it is used to create nuclear bombs and threaten other countries in the world, and you could not have any points to support your opinion, then you might have to agree that whatever you said is right. Right? Now, when you are agreeing to that, you are the one who is initiating. Now, if you give a fact, which means you have a proof with you. Now with the proof, if you know that it is truth, it is one way. There might be the other way also. I am not saying that the other way is wrong. The other way might also be right. But you know with fact that, let's say, 80% of the nuclear resources are utilized for development. Only 20% are utilized for threat, bomb making and all. Right? So, if you have such proofs with some documentation, some research publications, if you have known those things, then you can still stand on the fact and say, because this is the fact, I say that yeah, what you are saying is right. They are used to prepare bombs also. But 80% of it is used here. From this journal or from this published document. Okay, I can say with confidence that 80% of it is until now is used only to develop the human life. Right? Now, if you can stay on with the facts, you will have more strength and confidence to continue on the same line. Now, if you go with more of opinions, the problem is, because you don't have any proof associated with it, you might actually have to change your stance after some point in the discussion. So, when you are initiating, you should initiate only if you have good knowledge, which means you have facts to talk about it. Right? So, when you are saying some facts, you have good knowledge. Not only that, you can stand on it. So, be an initiator. But if you don't know much about the topic with some facts around it, it is rather good that you let someone else start the topic discussion and then you start participating in that. Okay, an initiator will get a little bit more marks with respect to how yes, this person initiated and what are the facts that he has mentioned. They will give some additional marks to that person. But still, if you don't have enough knowledge and facts, it is always better to be on the second place or third place and then participate. Even for the participation, if you have done good contribution, you will get good marks. Right? So after initiation, we will have the discussion. We will have the discussion. During discussion, there are several things that you need to understand. One is, as I said, participate. Never sit idle, never sit silent, don't feel shy. And if you think that the other person is better at vocabulary and English, naturally you will feel like if I speak, they might point it out or they might laugh at me. But instead of that, your goal is to get into a job, which means the observer has to give you points, not the people participating in the discussion. So remove the shyness and participate. As I said, have facts or opinions and start putting them onto the table for more discussion. So participate completely. Okay. Now one is participation. The other one is team spirit. What is team spirit? You have to be part of the team. You cannot stand, saying that whatever you said should be discussed or whatever you said is right. Okay, it is a team discussion. So the main observation the observers will be looking at is whether you are participating in the team and whether you are, mingling with others. If the other person criticizes what you said, whether you are accepting it or not, if the other person gives a better point than what you put on the table, are you assertive, saying that yes, what you have said is a good point, and then continuing from there, or are you trying to feel like no, this guy has taken one point, now I have to look for it. So whether you are collaborating with the team and trying to discuss, or whether you are trying to dominate, is what they want to observe. Okay, and then the next quality is leadership. What is leadership here? It doesn't mean that you have to be the person who is trying to control. Leadership doesn't mean controlling. Leadership here means moderating and as one of them, trying to give them more points for discussion and trying to make sure that they are discussing on the right way, right? So if someone is trying to argue or someone is trying to get into a heated discussion, how are you able to moderate? How are you able to say, let us come back to the discussion point, let us not get into personal argument? Okay, so how are you bringing them back into your discussion is what very important. That's what is your leadership part, right? Now, out of all these things, what the important thing look at is your attitude. What is your attitude when you are trying to mingle with people who are new to you? You don't know them. Maybe one or two in the group by chance, maybe your friends, but rest of them they are not. You don't even know them except for their name. While discussing, they'll announce their name. So except their name, probably you don't know anything about them. Now, when you don't know anything about them, how is that you are responding to them? When you have a very good fact, are you behaving as if you are the king and they don't know anything? Or are you trying to be calm and then try to share the knowledge rather than impose it on others? Right? And at the same time, when you could not say a good point, when others are telling you a good point, how are you reacting? Are you trying to cuddle yourself and say, I'm not part of this group? Or are you trying to learn? Right? So that is what is your attitude. So the basic thing is, in attitude there are two extremities. One is attitude gives you an ego. Right? This is what I am. And an attitude gives you a submissiveness. Which means every time you will be like submissive. You cannot an inferior complexity rather. You feel inferior to everyone, right? Either superior or inferior. Now, right attitude is what? Maintaining both of them and then showing the being submissive when you are learning, being attentive or being aggressive when you are sharing, right? So, the intent should be to share, not to show your ego. Okay, so that is what is your attitude. That defines your attitude, and that is what you need to show it. Alright? Now, once these things are there, the discussion has happened thoroughly, and then comes finally the conclusion part. Now, while discussing, when I said participate, the important thing is when you are participating, apart from showing all these qualities, as I said, one important thing that you need to remember is you need to or you should stand as one of the best in the team. Though you are trying to be as a part of the group, you still need to show that you are best among them. How do you show that? When you are allowing others to speak, when the others are taking more chances and you are not getting it, then you will lose it. So, try to give a point for discussion in such a way that the discussion happens around the point that you have given. Right? So, you need to have a very good knowledge so that you can give very good points to the team for discussion, and that rotates around what you have started. If someone is trying to change the topic, if someone is trying to change the point of discussion, then you should be so attentive that you accept what the new point that they have given, but again add it with your point, what you want to say, and let the discussion start. Right? Now, how do you do that? You cannot just say, hey, stop, I want to add a point. No, you cannot. First thing is, you cannot negate anyone or you cannot stop anyone from expressing their views. What you need to do is let them complete, and before anyone starts a discussion on that point, take the chance and first of all appreciate the person who has done it. Okay, and then take the chance, add your point to it and let the team discuss about it. Okay, so it should always be like the ball has to come into your hands and then you pass it on to the others. Don't just let the ball rotate without you touching it. If that happens, you are not participating. Right? Team spirit. Wherever you go, you have to mingle with the team and work with the team. But in a group discussion, though you are working with the team, you just cannot be, complete team spirit. You should be complete team spirit there. If you allow everyone to take their chance and speak more than you are losing. So here the team spirit is what you show, not what actually you are doing. Right? As I said, you have to take the ball every time and then pass it on. So let them speak, but what should they speak or what should they discuss? The point that you have put on the table. Right? So that is how you do it. Leadership. When people are getting into argument, naturally someone else will try to stop them from the argument and they say, guys, let us not argue and all. So, though, as I said, every time you have to take the ball. So, if someone is trying to, convince them not to argue, and if you are not doing it, then you are standing aside, right? Where someone is fighting, okay, let someone resolve the issue, then I will participate. No. You have to jump in and stop the other person from stopping the argument. Someone is trying to stop the argument, say, let them discuss. If it really becomes a heated argument, then we'll stop them. Why should we stop them now itself? Right? And then, when he calms down, you immediately jump in and say, guys, team is thinking that we are getting into an argument. Let us not discuss this point, I'll give you some other point. There are more points that we need to discuss. Why not let us get into this topic and then give a topic and let them discuss. Right? So, take the ownership of it and then try to be the leader there. Okay? And then attitude. So, this is how the whole discussion happens. And every time, whatever is happening, take notes. Don't forget to take notes of whatever is being discussed in the group. Okay. Now comes the conclusion. Now, who concludes it? Usually what happens when the time is up, probably the person who has initiated it will conclude it. Or there will be chances that the people who are observing will call a person and say, you conclude it, not the one who initiated. Right? So now, by chance, if the conclusion comes to you, you need to know what to conclude, right? How do you do that? You have to make sure first of all, you are listening. So, you need to take notes. If you are not listening, there is no way that you can conclude it. So, take notes of what is being discussed. You might have 10 points in your mind. But let us say during the time given to the discussion, only 3 points you could put on the table and rest of the points got discussed. Right? When you are concluding, you cannot add those other 7 points which are in your mind. That is not conclusion. Conclusion means conclude the topic towards or against only based on the discussion that happened. Now let us say there are some 6 points that came into discussion. Okay, out of the 6, 1, 2, 3 are towards, 1, 2, 3 are against. Okay, now here this point this point was discussed thoroughly, saying that yeah, this is good. Okay, but here the other side, 2 points got discussed very clearly, and it was finally concluded in those 2 points that yeah, this is a bane, not a boon. Right? Now, what will be the final conclusion of the group? Because there are 2 points that got discussed which are talking against towards the bane, then you have to, though you don't like it, when you are concluding, you have to say because 2 points, major points, got discussed thoroughly and agreed by the team, I might say, according to our group, science is a bane, not a boon. Right? So when you are concluding, only use the points discussed. Only use the points discussed. And conclude logically. Conclude logically. What is logical conclusion here? Because 2 huge points or very good points from the other side got discussed thoroughly and the team agreed that yes, it is a bane. But here only 1 point got discussed and this is taking the precedence. So, logical conclusion is science is a bane. Right? Now, this is the where the discussion happens, group discussion happens. Now let us see a few things on the do's and don'ts. Now from these things, the initiation, discussion and conclusion, the observer wants to make few notes, right? Few things are like whether you are a leader or not, leader in the sense whether you have the leadership qualities or not, whether you are committed or not to do whatever you have started, and whether you have that whether you fit into the environment or not, whatever kind of environment that I put you into, whether you fit into that environment or stand aside, all these things they would try to understand. And then whether you are a learner or not, do you learn or do you just stay with the content that you have? And obviously a learner and a person who can share. So these things will be observed very thoroughly. Okay, so let us now come into the next part, the do's and don'ts of a group discussion. Let us start with the do's. What do you need to do? The first thing, what I do here is in the do's and don'ts, I will also mention about the prerequisites or how you need to come and all these things. So the first thing is you need to be dressed to the occasion. You cannot be like going to a park or a museum or an entertainment zone. So you need to be dressed up to the occasion, and then you come with knowledge or the prepared information about various things that are happening in the market right now or in the world right now, so that you can participate. Okay. So when you come there, one thing is, as I said, rather than generalizing it, I will say when you are speaking, speak with facts as much as possible, and then opinions, reduce them.
Sir, opinions may be fact or may not be facts.
Yes, that is why I said reduce them to minimal unless you know it might be true of what you are saying, but you are not confident, right? So you might have a few good points in your opinions also, but you don't have facts to support them, or you don't have proofs to support them, so they become your opinions. Okay, now when you are saying an opinion, you are telling an opinion in the group, it could be a good point for discussion and it could end up as a very good point towards the conclusion. But when you are using it, only thing that you need to make sure is, maybe if you know that the point that you are making has good value, but only thing is you don't have the proof, so that's why you are still putting it. You might have an opinion, I cannot just say, in my opinion, science is a bane because it might have done a lot of bad things. If I say it might have done a lot of bad things,
What are the bad things?
yeah, either I need to have a proof, or that some atomic explosion happened or bombing happened on Japan, right? But you're not sure, you're not confident about it. You don't know the fact for sure or not. You heard it from some general knowledge sessions or in a classroom when a teacher told you, but you don't know whether it is true or not. You have not done any research on that. So you might say as well that it was used as a to bomb two big cities, right? So in my opinion, it is a bad thing because it was used for bombing two cities and people lost their lives and a lot of loss happened to the country. Okay, so at the end, because someone in the group might have got facts about it, They might support you and say, yes, it happened in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, in Japan, and this is what it is. Then whatever opinion you started with has become a fact now. It has become a very important point for discussion. But if you don't know for sure whether you have any value to it, don't get into it. So that's why I said reduce them to minimum. Okay, and this, as I said, third one is, in fact I should have put this in the top because listening is more important. Okay, listen to others and make notes. Listen to others and make notes. When you are making statements, or statements are nothing but when do you make statements? When you know a fact about it. That is a statement that you make. When you are making statements, make sure you have the proof or you have the statistics to prove that. Okay? And then, yeah, so be calm, assertive. I'll say this in don'ts. Okay. Be calm and assertive. So appreciate what others are saying and then continue what you want to add to it. But don't just try to, cut the other person's point and then take it forward from there. Okay. So that is the important thing that you need to remember. And when you are speaking, here I'll put it as modulation, voice modulation. So you need to use the right kind of voice and right kind of modulation to the voice so that the other person doesn't get offended to what you are saying. Okay, and get as much chance as possible while you are participating. Okay, so you need to be active and dynamic and then take as much chance as possible to put your point through. Okay, so these are the things that you need to remember with respect to do's. Okay, when I said don'ts, in this discussion I told you, right, don't get into an argument and all these things. That's what I wanted to say here, but I wanted to put it in a separate group, so I am going to put it now. Now, I hope you have noted these things down, so I will erase them and then I will write about the don'ts. First thing is, don't be shy. Just because you don't have good English or good vocabulary, don't be shy, participate. In fact, learn how to speak and then go and participate. So don't be shy and nervous. Naturally, when you are going for an interview, it is a thing about your job and the career, your life is on that. So don't bet your life just on that part and get nervous. There will be a constant nervousness in your mind because this is something that you are going to take it forward throughout your life. Once you get into a job, that is what you want to do, right? Now, if you get nervous in the interview itself, then your job is almost half lost. So try to control your nervousness, okay, and then make sure you participate. The moment you start participating and at least one of your points gets into right discussion, automatically your nervousness will go away. But try to control it right from the beginning, okay. So that is one thing that you need to remember. Second thing, arguments. Do not enter into any arguments with anyone because this is not a debate. This is basically a discussion. Discussion means understanding the other's views, appreciating their views, and then adding your views to it and discussing whether it is right or wrong, and then coming to a conclusion on which way we should all travel together. Right? Now, the third thing is interrupting. Do not interrupt anyone. from expressing their views. So whenever someone is saying, though you know it is something wrong, which is out of the topic or away from the topic, right? Don't interrupt them. Rather, try to wait away what they are going to say, and then at the end of it, first appreciate that you tried to say something, right? And then, from your point of view, add what is right there. So you can say, yes, what you have said is good, but it is not for our discussion. So let us put it for a different discussion. And for our discussion, why not take it this way and give a point there. Give your viewpoint there and let them discuss about it. Okay. And then interrupting arguments, emotions. Don't get your emotions into the discussion. Trying to make fun of others. Don't do that. Trying to show someone is inferior. Right? All these things are, you do that with because you become emotional. Emotional in the sense, if you become inferior, naturally you want to make fun of the other person so that people will take it easy on the other guy and they concentrate on you. If you want to be aggressive, you will try to suppress others and say what I am saying is right, what you are saying is not right. So you start negating others. Right? So don't get your emotions into play. Only use your logical mind and then try to solve the situation that is given to you or discuss the topic that is given to you. Don't, as I said, don't get your emotions into play when you are in a group discussion. Okay? And then, engaging yourself into the arguments, all these things. Again, repeating. Don't repeat what others have said as if it is your point. Okay, and don't repeat the same point again and say this is a new discussion. So try to make sure that whatever you are saying there is different from what you said. Okay, just by changing the English around it, you cannot make it a new point. So it becomes irrelevant. So don't make irrelevant statements and don't repeat unnecessary things. Now, one thing I wanted to put here with respect to what is that? Initiation.
How can you say that it might be don't? Initiation is an event.
No. I wanted to put some point about initiation here in the don'ts. So I was trying to remember what was the point that I wanted to tell you here. One is don't be shy, arguments. With respect to initiation, the important point that I wanted to tell you is don't repeat the topic and don't give away unnecessary information about yourself which is not relevant to the discussion. So the topic is already given to you. So when you initiate the topic, don't stand and say, hi, my name is so and so, and I am the topic given to us today for discussion is this, that everyone knows. So don't do it that way. It is not a formal introduction that you have to give again once the topic is given. So directly get into the fact or the opinion that you want to express, that you want to put on the table. So give your name, and again, you don't have to say, my name is XYZ. I am from so and so village, I have so many brothers and sisters, and I did my 10th class year, engineering here. No, you just tell the name because the group sitting there needs to know your name, nothing else. Okay, so just give your name and then say, for today's discussion, I want to add a very good point as a beginning, and then say what you want to say. And let the discussion begin. Don't again start with, this is the topic, so we have to discuss either for right or against it. Everyone knows about it. So don't do that again. Right? Now, as I said, once this is done, the rest of the things will follow. Okay? So these are the major things that you need to remember in the don'ts. I'll add one more point. Yeah. So, well, it's a part and parcel of all the other things, but again, body language. one of the biggest advantages and disadvantages part in the body which gives wrong impressions to the others is your face, right? So you might throw your eyes up or open your mouth or put different shapes of your nose. So doing these things, you are trying to convey your emotions, or you are trying to convey your body language that either you are not interested or what he is saying is not fact or not right. So if someone is saying, what are you saying, if you put a different face, the other person knows that you are not agreeing to what he is saying, but at the same time you are trying to hurt him also. So try to control your body language. The first thing is your face, expressions on your face, when I say face, and then your hands. Each finger has a different meaning when you show it alone. Right? Now, don't show fingers, don't show hand. If you have a habit of using your hand while you are speaking or saying something, try to add the other hand also. If you can control one hand, control it. Otherwise, try to bring the other hand also. So when you bring the other hand, whatever you move or show with the hand becomes a gesture, or it becomes something that you want to explain. It doesn't become a bad gesture. Okay, so control your body language, and don't try to talk to the examiner, or don't try to talk to the observer.
Chat.
Yeah, whoever is observing or whoever is conducting the interview, don't turn to him or turn to her and speak to them. The discussion should happen between the participants, not the person who is observing. Right? So remember these things, and as I said, participate in the discussion thoroughly and earn your points, and from there take it forward. Okay? So if you have any questions about understanding more about the group discussion concepts, you can mail me and get more information about it. My email ID is bhargav.m@anilnayakclasses.com. So send an email and I can answer your questions, or I can address the concerns that you have regarding group discussion. Let us know few things about a personal interview. The agenda is to know about the interview, and then obviously the do's and don'ts, and then how do we take that interview. So in fact this comes second, and I will tell the do's and don'ts at the last. Now about the interview. What is a personal interview? A personal interview is to know about you, more about how you are useful to the organization. Not to know about your background, or not to know about what are your personal interests or ideas. So this is basically about how you are useful to the organization. Now let us say, whenever I speak about any interview being conducted and questions asked, consider me as the interviewer or the company that I am representing. Now, when I am representing a company and I am the interviewer asking you a couple of questions in the interview. Now, what is that I want to know? First thing is, though you are a fresher, my idea of recruiting you into my organization is to see whether you fit into my environment or not, whether you are capable enough with respect to the technologies or tools that I require to use in my organization or not, and then whether you have the right attitude to learn and excel. Okay, so as I said, I'll write down the 3 points here. One is knowledge with respect to technical and with respect to the tools that are used and various things, processes and everything. And then the attitude, whether you have the right attitude to learn or not, and whether you are fit into the environment or not. It all basically happens with your right attitude. Okay, and the important thing about it is whether you are useful for my organization or not. These are the things that I want to see through an interview. Now, knowledge. You might be very knowledgeable in the areas that you have studied in your engineering or your degree. But let us say I am representing a software company because I work in software industry. I usually take that example. So let us say I am representing a software company who is working on Java technologies. Now, answering to this point, knowledge. Let's say you are very good at .NET. Would I ask you questions in .NET and see whether your knowledge is appropriate, up to the mark or not? No, I would not even think about it. I would only consider about Java. I'll ask you questions only about Java. I'll ask you questions in the width and depth of Java to understand where you are, where you stand. I don't even care how much knowledge you have in .NET because I am not using it. When I don't use it, how will I take you and put it to the project here? So, my basic point I want to put forward here is, when it is about knowledge, it is not what you know. Remember, it is what not you know. It is about what I need. As an organization, what I need, you need to have that. Otherwise, there is no point in attending that interview at all. Right? So that is the first point. That is the area of knowledge that I am speaking about. Now, attitude. What is attitude? We have discussed in the group discussion session also. What is the right attitude? So you cannot be aggressive, you cannot be inferior or inferiority complex or superiority complex. You cannot have both of them. You should be moderate. You need to show when you are sharing, you need to share it with passion. You need to share it with assertiveness. You cannot show the command. You cannot show your ego while sharing with others. When you are learning from others, be calm and you don't get into an inferiority complex there. Try to learn from the others. So that is what you need to have. So that is your attitude. Useful to my organization? Yes. Do you know any processes? Do you know how an organization operates? Do you know any facts about my organization where you are attending an interview? All these things also fall under the category of useful to the organization, apart from the technologies and the knowledge that you need to have. Right. Now, let us get into the how part. When an interview is conducted, as I said, the prerequisites is your knowledge, your communication skills. That is same for even group discussion. So you need to have the knowledge. Again, I am repeating this 100 times because that is what is important. Knowledge with respect to the organization's requirements, not with respect to what you have learnt in your engineering or throughout your life. Okay, that is knowledge and then communication. Here I will add one more important thing, which is your presentation. Presentation, don't take it as only how you express your ideas or answers. It also starts with your appearance. Okay, how much you are groomed to the situation, how you are to the occasion, and your dressing, your body language, behavior, everything counts into your presentation. Right? Now, we'll go in a sequential order. Right? The first thing that happens or first thing that communicates about you to the interviewer is your resume. So we learned in our session about resume on how to prepare it and how to write your sales pitch in that. So I will not repeat that again. So what I simply say is, you, let us say you have prepared the right resume and you have given it to the interviewer. Now, what happens? The first thing that happens in an interview is they'll ask you to tell us about yourself. Now here I take a very good reference or an example. If you see movies, one recent movie that happened is this Doom 3. So in that Amir Khan, in fact the female, she comes to join his circus. Okay, Katrina Kaif. So she comes to join the circus. Now Amir Khan says, I am giving you 5 minutes. Show me your skill in such a way that I don't turn my face away from you. If I turn my face away from you in those 5 minutes, you are out. If I don't turn, you are in. Which means, tell me about yourself is the same question Amir Khan has put in a different way in the movie. Right? Now there, the female dances and shows her talent to get into the circus. Here, you are showing your skills to make sure that the other person understands about it and then appreciates and gives you a job. Right. Now when you say tell me about yourself, tell us about yourself, the usual way of doing it is you start with your name. You start with the name and then you will say your education qualification and then you might as well enter into your family details. You might say your hobbies. You will say about your skills. You will say everything that you have put in your resume. Yes, of course, when you are asked to tell about yourself, you have to tell about you, which is your resume. But when you have already mentioned everything in the resume very clearly, why do you want to repeat the same thing there? And when, in fact, if you have observed in any of your interviews, if you have attended a couple of interviews and if you have observed, when you are saying something about yourself, the interviewer doesn't even pay attention to you. He or she is simply going through your resume because they are just trying to leave you for some time, talking some, I would rather say, unimportant information. This is in your resume. If you are saying the same thing again, okay, let the person talk for some time, then settle down, then I'll ask the questions. Until then, I'm looking at the resume. In fact, the person sitting there and giving the answer, all these things, is getting more nervous because the person is not listening to him. Right? So when you are answering the question and the other person is not paying attention to you, your nervousness will increase, it will not decrease. So instead of trying to tell the other person to listen to you, say something which makes him listen to you. Why do you want to say all these things? Let us say about your name. Okay, on the resume, the first heading is your name. I have already seen it. And probably, this is the question that is asked when you enter into when your interview has started. But as soon as you enter into the interview room, this presentation has already started, how you look and everything has already created an impression on the other person or the interviewer. Now, how do you approach also makes sense, right? So, as soon as you get in, instead of standing there nervously, holding a huge bag or anything, the first thing that you need to do is get off the luggage off your head. If you got some bag or something with you, remove the bag, leave it in the corner of the room. Nobody is going to take it away. Don't worry about it. Worry about your interview. So keep the bag somewhere and only carry the certificates or whatever you need to carry. Go to the desk, approach the desk, walk fast, don't run, walk fast, give a hand and shake the hand firmly. Okay? When you do that, you will tell your name, hi, I am so and so. Naturally the other person also will say, hi, my name is so and so. And if the person doesn't say his or her name, the way you ask them to give their name is not, what is your good name? a person doesn't have any good name or bad name, they just have a name. So politely ask, may I know your name? And then register the name that they have told you. And from there on, if you are attending a corporate interview, remember, sir and ma'am are not appreciated words there. Okay? So you don't address people by sir and ma'am. In fact, ma'am happens a little bit with the females because you might feel a little bit of discomfort addressing a person by name who is of not your gender. So instead of saying sir, they prefer Mr. XYZ, their name, Miss ABC, their name. So whatever it is. So when you know their name, start using it, Mr. So and so. Or whenever you need to say this is what the answer is, sir, you say Mr. XYZ, this is the answer. Okay, or Miss, this is the answer. Now, let us come back. You already told your name when you entered and shook your hand. It is already written on your resume, which the person might have already read about. Now, does this make any sense? And people usually start, I myself am so and so. No, don't use too many adjectives, adverbs and things like that. I myself is a wrong way of using it. You might have learned it in your English classes. Okay, so don't start with your name. That is not required. Your education, your qualification, you are already written there with a huge table. Now your family is not going to come here and work for me. You are going to come. So I don't need to know about your family. Your hobbies, unless they are related to the technologies or the things that the organization can use about you, I don't need your hobbies. I am good at swimming. I watch movies every day. So I will think like, oh, you will come to the office and start watching movies, you don't work? No. Don't need to say any hobbies. Skills, yes, that is what is required to my organization. But again, you have listed them very clearly in the table if you have followed the resume pattern that we have discussed. Now when everything about you is clearly written in the resume and the person asks you to tell about yourself, repeating the same thing doesn't make any sense, doesn't give any interest to the interviewer. I would rather go through your resume, giving you some time out and then start my next questions. Or, I feel like, let me at least understand whether this person is good at English or not. When you are telling about yourself, I have to pay attention. That should be the motto of this answer that you are giving. Now, what can you say, anything apart from this about you? If you had a 5 years experience or something, then probably you can directly talk about your experience that you have, but you are a fresher. Now, apart from these things, is there anything that you can say about yourself? Not much, right? Now, when you don't have much to talk about yourself, apart from these things, now what is that you can say differently about yourself there? I'll give you a good, I'll give you a very good approach on how to do this. When you are answering this question, you need to study about the company. Not when you are in the interview. You should have done this before even going to the interview. When you got a call from some company, some ABC company, it would have come to you at least 3 to 4 days before, not today in the morning suddenly. Now you had 3 to 4 days of time. What did you utilize that for? Go to the company's website or see if you can find some friends or friends who are working in that company and try to get knowledge about that company. What are they doing? What are the domains on which they work? What are the technologies they use? And what are the different areas globally where their presence is? And approximately what is the size of the company? It might be in number of people or with respect to the turnover. Whatever it is, learn about it. And then you prepare a script around yourself, adding that company. So you might want to say, instead of starting with the name, when they ask you to tell me about yourself, you could as well start saying, sir, your company is so huge and is working on these domains that I do want to work on that because my Java skills in Hibernate, JSP and EJBs match with your kind of projects that you do. You should also be aware of your job description also. In your job description, they would have mentioned what are the different technologies that they are expecting from you. Now if you know that, add these technologies into a sentence that you have framed about the organization. The moment you start saying something about the organization, I become attentive. I asked this guy to tell me about himself, but this guy is saying something else. So let me listen. So you are actually telling me about yourself. You add your skills, saying that my skills are matching with your organization's domains and the projects that you do. So talk about the organization. Same thing, about your education. I know you work with intellectuals. I know that your way of operating is so and so. My education skills, through my knowledge, I got them. So I can use those skills and knowledge to work for the organization and create my own career. So create a script using the organizational facts and add your information in between wherever there is possibility and complete your tell me about yourself answer. Right? Now once you say this, you have created some impact on the interviewer because he or she heard something different which they didn't see until now in the last few of their interviews. Okay, so the moment you have created an attention, they want to know more about you and they want to understand more about you. Right? So they then will get into the technical part of the interview. Now when the technical interview happens, this interview is basically to understand what is your knowledge with respect to what I am using in my organization. So naturally the questions will be of three types. One is yes, I know the answer. The other one is no, I don't know the answer. And the third one is maybe what I know is right. Or maybe I don't know, I understood the question but I am unable to recollect it now. Right? Now when you are sure about the answer, you will be very confident and you will say the answer. When you get a question where you don't know the answer for sure, naturally your morale will go down. And you will try to say the answer with a lot of uncertainty. You know very certainly that you don't know the answer, but you try to show that there is some uncertainty. That is the reason I am saying the answer no. No. Use the same confidence that you have used to say yes, to say no. Be upright and say no, that yeah, this area probably I have not worked on, or this area I have not learned, so I don't know the answer as of now. Okay? And then when this maybe kind of question comes, that is where you need a lot of help and time. So one way of doing this is, when a maybe question comes, what you do, you need time to search your answer from your mind. Now to get that time, understand the question when they ask it for the first time. But you could buy some time, don't do this always again, only for once or twice, this will be useful. To buy some time, you can say, so can you please repeat the question? Or I could not understand, can you please repeat it for me, rephrase it for me. The moment they start rephrasing, you got some time now. Think about the answer. And in some cases, it also happens that when the other person is, when the interviewer is rephrasing the question, they will give you a hint of the answer also. So put an ear to the person who is repeating the question. First time, you have to listen to the question. Second time, if they are repeating it, put an ear so that you might catch some point from there, but try to search from your brain what could be the answer. And even after the search, if you didn't get a confident answer about it, then you you might as well try to give the answer with an opinion, with a uncertainty added to that. You could as well say, I am not sure, but I want to give a try, and then say the answer. Or you say, I think I know the answer, but I want to say that only with an uncertainty of whether it is right or not. Say that in such a way that even if the other person knows that you are saying the wrong answer, he will not feel like no, this guy has bluffed around or beaten around the bush. Even in such a way, polite and a simple, straightforward. Okay. Now that is how you handle the maybe kind of questions. When you are in an interview, you will be answering these questions with confidence. Only then the other person knows that you are ready to learn also. When you say no, I don't know now, then you are saying that I am still confident that I can learn it tomorrow. Okay. Now these are the things that happen. Now at the end, when after the technical interview or the actual knowledge-based interview is done, the final part is concluding. So what happens in the concluding? The interviewer might say, I am done with my questions, you can leave now. Or he might as well say, do you have any questions for me? Now that is one area where you need to participate. At least have one or two questions about the company. You have read about the company here to tell me about yourself. Then prepare at least one or two questions and then keep them ready. Don't ask what is the kind of environment? Is it a 24/7 kind of a job? Do you have job security? No, these are not the questions that you need to ask. Ask something which is more logical and sensible. Technologies, domains, or the kind of research that they do. Is there a research wing where we can participate? All these different things, try to understand. One or two questions. Don't bombard the interviewer with 100 questions. Use one or two questions and say, thank you, I'll meet you again for the next round. Or I'll wait for your update and it was nice talking to you. And then come out of the interview. Now, once you know what to do and how to do it, let us look at few do's and don'ts for an interview. What are the do's? What should you do in an interview? So, first thing is ready for the occasion. So, you need to be dressed properly, groomed properly, and get ready for the interview. So, whether you are ready for the occasion or not is with respect to your physical presentation, grooming, and then your dressing sense. These two things will define whether you are ready for the occasion or not. Okay. Second important thing is be on time. Probably arrive a little 10-15 minutes before the interview and wait for the interviewer rather than making the interviewer wait for you. So that is one good thing that you can do and make yourself the possible candidate for the job. Okay. Now, greetings. Greet the other person. Treat them with complete greetings. Treat the other person with respect. Give them the appropriate respect and then expect them to respect you. So greet them well with a firm shake hand and then give your name and then If they give their name, register it. Otherwise, ask them politely, what's your name, or may I know your name, and then note it down. Note it down in the sense, register it in your mind so that you can use it and then continue it in the interview. As I said, this is the most important thing, listening. So listen to the interviewer. So what are the kind of questions the interviewer is asking? So you need to pay attention and make sure that you understood the question properly. If you have not understood the question properly, there is no way that you can answer the question or you can participate. Right? Now, when the interviewer is asking you questions, pay complete attention, listen to him or her, and then start answering. Don't interrupt. Okay. So now again, eye contact. Eye contact doesn't mean look into their eyes. Staring, that is called staring. No, eye contact means even if you are not looking at them, you are attentive. You have to show them that my attention is on you. My attention is towards what you are saying, what you are asking. That is what is eye contact. Look into their eyes, and then even if you have to look around, not again, looking around doesn't mean to turn your head here and there and create an impression that you are not interested in the interview. Even if you have to look away from his eyes, it is okay, but you have to show him or her that you are attentive, you are present with your mind in the interview. That is what you need to tell them. Then body language. Sit straight, proper, to the end of the chair. Don't sit on the edge of the chair as if you are ready to run. Go on to the end of the chair and towards the other end of the chair. Sit there properly, fit yourself properly and sit there. Okay, the moment you sit properly and straight, you are confident, you are ready for the show. So that shows that you are attentive also. Right? Now, apart from sitting there, don't make too many body gestures. Waving of hands, showing fingers, and then turning your head here and there, moving your body left and right. All these things, what you are saying the other person is, boss, I am not interested very much in this interview, or I am not interested in this question that you are asking, and maybe you should ask a better question. I cannot answer this. Okay? As I said, if you did not understand the question, ask for repetition. Can you please repeat the question for me? Okay. Don't just try to guess the question when you have not understood it properly and then try to answer it with your guesses. Okay. Take the interview seriously and then be prepared. Ask them to repeat the question. Now take the interview seriously, but at the same time, don't consider it with your nervousness. Okay? Be calm and attend the interview with complete attention. That is what when I meant be serious about the interview. Okay. Now these are few things that I could give you on the do's part of it. Now let us look into a few things that you should not do when you are in an interview. First thing is excuses. Don't make excuses for everything. First thing is, the more you make excuses, the more they understand, that the interviewer understand that this person has not got the right attitude. Okay, so don't give excuses. Excuses for knowledge, excuses for being late, excuses for not being dressed properly. Right? So don't make lot of excuses. Stand on the actions. Stand on your decisions and stand for your actions. Okay? negative comments, or rather I would simply say negative statements. Don't use any negative statements about the organization or other interviewers, or any other thing, even about the technology that you don't know. Simply, don't say that technology, I didn't know that it was so much useful in the world, or my friend said this technology is not used in the market, so you will not get good job. That's why I did not learn it. No, don't try to, again, that is a part of excuse, giving an excuse, and also making a lot of negative statements. Instead of saying negative things, say, I found this technology that I learned, or this tool I learned, or this area I preferred better than anything else, because my way of approach, or my thoughts, or my ideas and my intentions and my intentions match with what I am doing right now. Let us say you have done an engineering, but you are going for a bank job. They will want to know why you are choosing a banking kind of a job when you are a good engineer, right? So you might want to answer that rather than saying it is a secure job, monthly salary, good career path, this is a risky path and all, unnecessary answers. Simply answer that with a very positive mind. You want to ascertain them, or you want to give them a comfort that this path I am choosing because I want to be in that path. Okay, I learned about that from my father, because maybe your father is a banker, so from your father, or a friend who is into working in banks, or it could be any other person from whom you learned something which you wanted to use as your career path. So that is the reason you chose it. So show that. Even in technology, I chose this technology because I thought this will take me to a bigger career or a good career. Right? So instead of making negative statements and comments, convert them into the positive sentences and use them. Okay? Right. Now, apart from the technical and usability to the organization and all these things, don't show that you are for money, that you are here for money. What is your expectation on salary? The moment they say, I want to earn some few lakhs of rupees. No, you control yourself. Don't show them that you are here for money. Show them that you want to excel yourself in the skills that you have got, and then learn new things so that you can improve yourself and build a career out of it, and then expect a salary out of it. Right? So instead of saying that I am here only for the salary, say that I am here for more than salary. I am here to learn and get accustomed into the environment around me. Okay, that is what you have to show them. Okay. Desperate. Yes, we are desperate for a job because that is what is going to give us livelihood. But then, that is not what you show them. You are not desperate for a job. You are desperate for a livelihood. So if not this company, some other company will give you a job. The way you have to speak there is with the right attitude. Now, if they ask, what is that you are so attracted to our company than any other company? You should not show that. So you gave me the first interview, so you called me first, so I am waiting for a job, so I came here. No, be cool. Don't show them that you are desperate for a job. You are here to attend an interview, and if your skills match with the requirement of the organization, and if the interviewer feels that you can add or contribute to the organization, you want to get into that job. This is what you have to put in your own sentence. Okay? So, do not show that you are desperate. And Do not get diverted. Cell phones, keep them in silent mode. Nothing is going to happen or the world is not going to end if you don't look at your mobile during the interview or in those 20-30 minutes of your interview. Live as if mobile was not even there. Or I would as well say, leave your mobile in your bag outside in the room and then sit in the interview hall with complete attention onto the interview. That is how you show that you are serious for the job. Not desperate, but serious about the job. Okay, so as I said, take the interview seriously, answer all the questions, even if it is a yes or no, take it with confidence or answer it with confidence, and whenever you are not completely confident, give a shot and then say that I am trying to give the answer but I am not trying to make it up, and then say what you know about it or say what you at least heard about it. And then probably it might end up as the right answer also sometimes. Okay, so when you are in an interview, pay attention only about the interview and control your body language as much as possible so that you don't give wrong impression to the interviewer. So with all these tips and do's and don'ts, I conclude my personal interview session here. And as again, if you have any questions or if you want to know more about personal interview related things, write an email to me, bhargav.m@anilnayarclasses.com. So write an email and I'll answer your questions or address your concerns that you have about any interview. Okay, thank you very much.